Hello and welcome to the Profit Show. I'm your host, Monica Profit, and I am here with Ignacio Palomera, who is the CEO and co-founder of Bondex. Welcome to our program. I'm so glad that you're on the show.
Thank you, Monica. It's a pleasure to be here. Hello, everyone.
You have got some really cool news coming up that just happened. So I want to be a part of announcing this. It's just been so cool to see how rapidly Bondex has grown. So you've just recently acquired a Web3 career, and I want to hear a little bit about how Bondex and Web3 career are even related. So can you tell me a bit about Bondex to start, and then how Web3 career became an acquisition target for you?
I'll try to make it as brief as possible, but essentially what we're building at Bondex is a protocol. And the core of the protocol is a professional identity. I really do believe that resumes are obsolete and the future of work is going to be increasingly fractional. So I like to say that reputation, digital verified reputation through blockchain is the new resume, right? And out of that core utility that we have, an identity, which is your passport to the future of work, we've built utilities around it to be able to use it. Or in other words, hooks that solve real problems for people and companies, right? So that they can leverage this new passport for the future of work. And one of them is jobs, right? We initially built our own internal jobs platform, which is still operating, but it's a little bit different than Web3 careers. The way we do it is actually crowdsourcing, or we like to call it the Uber of recruitment. So companies post a bounty and we crowdsource referrals from candidates and a pool of vetted recruiters that we have around the world. We then use AI to filter those candidates. And then we do a last human talent operations, quality assurance, and security check before we present them to the clients. And what you end up with very simply is cheaper and faster talent at the same level of quality that a recruitment agency would give you. But Web3 Careers is the number one job board in the space. It's got the most amount of traffic. People have been using it forever. Incredible brand. And what's incredible is it was built and run by one single person.
No, no, that's insane.
It is insane. It's
Wow,
incredible.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that either. He came to us as he was trying to exit. And it just so happens that both co-founders, me and my co-founder at Bondex, we have M&A experience. So, we went right into the asset purchase, traditional M&A process at a smaller scale than what you're used to when we were working in banking, but just an amazing asset. Some of the things he did, I don't think he even realizes the genius of the things he did in terms of how to capture all of that SEO traffic and power. And for us, that turbocharges or really scales up the demand side of our talent marketplace from both clients posting jobs and also from candidates looking for jobs. And again, that drives people to use our amazing platform and our amazing profile and identity technology and reputation scoring for both the companies and the users looking for opportunities.
That is insane. So what are some of the specifics that he did to sort of maximize on the SEO piece of this? Because it sounds like every company is really moving kind of towards me having to have a really strong data play. No matter what else they're doing, there has to be a lot of data just to be able to harvest, to repurpose, to be able to kind of almost prop up other metrics around the company.
That's right. Especially it's important as we go into the advent of an AI world, people have to realize that model can be as good as anything, but the data is crucial to training any AI model and function and agent and anything that can help you in that regard, right? Mostly, to be completely honest, he was very early with a great domain name.
That's
And
true.
that's something that can be replicated. You just got to be at the right time at the right place. A story that I like to tell is, blockchain.com. I know the founder well. And I asked him, how did you get that domain name? That domain name is worth millions of dollars today. And he told me, blockchain used to be a word in Reddit, right?
That's
Chat.
true.
It wasn't a thing, right? It was a category defining name that caught on, and I was able to purchase the domain name for nothing. In the story of Web3 Careers, he was able to do something very similar. So he was very early in a time where the supply of talent was very, very low, but the demand for skills was very, very high. So he was
Yeah.
able to capture a lot of market share. And then he did a lot of very smart, I don't want to give too much secret sauce away, but a lot of deep linking across websites, also like media, press that he got, the profiles of the people, the companies that drove more and more traffic, and ultimately him being higher and higher in the Google search or any search when people were looking for jobs, Web3, talent. And that's how we captured it.
That's insane. Did he also use a bounty structure, or was that something that you guys brought in and he's just going to bring kind of more firepower to an ecosystem that you've already built?
So actually, we're keeping them separate for the time being. One of the reasons is we're doing our token launch fairly soon, and that sucks the oxygen out of the room. We purchased the asset because it's really, really an amazing brand, really profitable. Again, it's one person who built it and ran it with an incredible margin. And for now, we're not going to integrate the technologies together. We're going to keep them separate. But the plan, of course, is to integrate our infrastructure. And I think that's honestly going to turbocharge the results that people are getting in terms of customer satisfaction and client satisfaction on the Web3 career side.
Yeah, so I mean, you guys are already incorporating tokenized incentives even without a native token, right? So you were already able to sort of use existing tokenomics of other companies to incentivize engagement. Was that part of your growth strategy so far?
So it depends on the audience. If you're asking me about enterprises to come use the platform to find talent, right? The pitch was very simple, actually, is faster, cheaper, right?
Yeah, right.
I think in crypto, we make this mistake, or Web3, to try to explain the technology in too much detail and how the sausage is made. At the end of the day, there's problem solutions. People just want to hear what they're getting, right? So
Yeah,
the enterprise is getting faster, cheaper talent. We did not use actually tokens per se. We just made a really like multi-chain and multi-token or fiat off-ramp and on-ramp for people to like set up these bounties and also make it very flexible so that the successful recruiter was able to off-ramp or on-ramp or choose the currency, whether crypto or fiat, that they wanted to get paid in.
got it.
We were the middleman, or we are the middleman at the end of the day.
Yeah, but also very flexible middleman considering the types of jobs that people were taking and then where they might want to be compensated. So that flexibility, I'm sure, really drove user adoption as well. I mean, there's plenty of times that I've run into, especially developers, like Solidity developers, that are like, I'd rather work for token. I just want to have it like sit over there in a wallet and like just see what happens with it. I'm happy to take a gamble with some of my gigs, which is a very cool thing that if you can always like if you can standardize that process for people, that's really powerful. So sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, on that side of things, it's more about payroll compliance and like cross-border payments,
Yeah.
something that we're using a third-party provider for. What we handle more is the smart contract and is the job has done, accepted it, and then released. But there's a lot of great companies out there bringing some next level infrastructure based on blockchain that is super exciting, that is going to solve a lot of those problems.
Such as, do you have any that come to mind?
The one that we use and we really love is Rise Payments. I know the founder very well. Honestly, incredible company. He's able to solve that problem of who wants to get paid in crypto, who doesn't, who wants to get paid in fiat, what is the compliance, what is the tax regime across many, many regions. And I think other companies like Deal or Ramp, in the traditional sense, they're all going to end up adopting this type of flexibilities.
So
We
it's
have a limited window of opportunity as startups in Web3, especially now that the US is more accepting of the technology, until these big players begin to adopt the technology.
that's true. You are definitely ahead of the curve with this. So that was actually goes right into my like idea. What my next question really was, what is the longer term vision that you have? Because it sounds like you've already kind of gone by leaps and bounds early in a space that needed what you have to provide. But now as the space actually grows, I mean, competition of course will grow, whatnot, with it not only with the token sale coming up, but also with just your all of the acquisitions and like other ways that you're able to gain more traction in a more traditional way and grow. How does this like kind of converge for the longer term vision? Do you see this as becoming a purely just a token play, a tokenized company where you're able to just do like community engagement and the token really is centered to the function of the company? Or do you feel like that's just another kind of piece? It's another way to raise money. It'll embed you in the Web3 community, but it doesn't really have, it's not core to the actual company.
It's a great question. I think that most people have not cracked a way to sustainably build a positive flywheel between tokenization and the product and services that they provide. And with us, we've been building for 4 years. We've built through a tough winter and we've learned a lot. In the beginning, when I was like, I'm going to build a Web3 LinkedIn killer. Over
Yeah.
time, I've had millions of users, a lot of clients. I've seen how the industry has evolved. And ultimately, my vision has evolved. Why? Predominantly, the Web2 social networks and professional networks have extremely strong network effect based modes and switching costs.
Mm.
So, for example, Farcast or Workcast saying that they're going to displace LinkedIn is a very tall mission, just like me saying I'm going to kill LinkedIn.
Okay, wanting to kill LinkedIn is a thing. How did you come to this idea that you'd wanted to kill? Was it, I mean, I personally have had my own frustrations with all kinds of big organizations and I wanted to kill them, but not really like actually build a thing. So what made you want to kill LinkedIn and like, and you know, what got you into this to begin with, other than probably hating the way that LinkedIn works right now?
One of them is very personal, which is I went on scholarship to a non-target university and I wanted to do investment banking, and it was very hard for me to break into it. It took a lot of rejection, a lot of anxiety, and ultimately I felt like my resume or my LinkedIn profile did not really reflect my potential, which I ended up proving right based on my performance and my professional career. And so part of the mission for me, driven, is evolving how really we build our professional identities. And now we have this obsolete infrastructure for the future of work that is going to be increasingly fractional. And the way we monetize our time, skills, and attention is going to rapidly change. And we need something completely different. That's one of the reasons, right? The other reason was when I joined my first startup after banking, which is HR's tech startup, and we developed an algorithm that matched candidates to opportunities. I truly learned how inefficient the market is. And also in terms of LinkedIn and being disrupted, there's a lot of lying, right?
That's true.
There's
That's
a lot of
true.
lying, there's people claiming things, and then you background check them and they fail the background check before you hire them. Or there's a lot of North Koreans buying identities and trying to get jobs in crypto, right? And then you're in trouble because you've paid, 100K in crypto to a developer that you didn't know who you were without a camera, right? Things need to be a little bit more professionalized. But blockchain offers the best way to actually bring verifications on chain of what you claim in your resume, from skills to where you actually worked, and then things beyond something a resume captures today. When I hire people, I like to hire for proof of grit, curiosity. And these are things that might be something like, being part of a gaming guild at one point, or having run your own DAO, or now people are really doing a lot of side gigs. What are you vibe coding on the weekend? All these things need to be captured, right? And for it, I think Web 2.5 and the way we've designed it is perfect, in which you have a great UI UX that is very intuitive and easy to use, but also blockchain infrastructure to provide a trust layer through verifications underpinning the whole thing.
So you say things are becoming increasingly fractional. It sounds like that also is just an increasing risk factor to any company looking to hire, right? Because if you're going to have more jobs kind of done in a fractional manner, that means just every time you make a hire, there's more potential risk of hiring the wrong person, believing the wrong set of data, paying the wrong person, et cetera, right? So you're also not just cheaper, faster, but you're like risk mitigating.
Yeah, and that's the mission at its core is the identity piece in a professional setting by providing this reputation score. I don't like to call it a social credit score because that's what the CCIP.
Yeah, that's got a
This is
bad connotation for sure. That's not good marketing.
this is empowering users to verify the things they want to verify to prove that they're good enough to do a job, right? And also, you know how much work people do that goes nowhere?
Right.
People join hackathons and they build great projects and that goes nowhere. That should be captured.
Yeah.
Or when you actually interview really high into a company, let's say Citadel, Bridgewater, one of the best hedge funds, and you're this quant and you make it to the top five, that should be captured somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And lastly, what I'm really excited about, which is something we're releasing soon, is called vouching, which
What
is when you
is?
when you share your social credibility and capital to back someone else, and that can be tracked. And then if they monetize through any economic opportunity on the platform, you would get a revenue share for having backed them.
Is this part of the referral bounty program or is this separate?
This is something separate. This is part of
What?
the this is
This
part
is
of the features that we're building now.
very cool. So when is that going to be live?
I'm hoping by Q4.
Okay. All right. I will keep an eye out. I know cool people. I can't wait to make money off them.
So vouching is precious. You can invite as many people in your network as possible, but you can only vouch for a certain amount of people in certain categories. It
Okay.
needs to be scarce because actually we've all diluted our social graphs across all our social networks. I don't know about you, but when people ask me, can I have an introduction to this person? You're connected with them on LinkedIn. And I always say, actually, we just connected on LinkedIn. I don't know them.
Right. That's what I say too. I mean, most of the time that's the case. I can find no messages, even if they were just introductory messages, it doesn't matter. There's just nothing that actually glues us together. I can't go asking them for a favor or an introduction or, give me more of your time. I have someone that you need to meet. I can't do that. It doesn't make any sense. And it's only going to be negative to both of us.
The world I find now is we don't need more tools or more data. We're just too full of noise, and it's hard who to trust and what to trust. We've based our economy now on attention, and attention is fickle.
Yeah.
What we're building is the infrastructure for a trust economy, more meaningful interactions, being able who to trust and where to put your attention and focus on.
So when you say you have proof of grit and you have a TGE coming up, do you have a specific type of tokenomics or consensus mechanism that you're trying to sort of imbue into not only the culture of the company, but into the token and how it functions as well?
Great question. We've built our token economy as a meritocracy. So because of the reputation score and all the actions that you can do and the gamification, we can track how much value you're adding to the ecosystem in many different types of roles, right? Recruiter, the talent, the company hiring, the HR person actually doing the hiring. We've also recently acquired, it's not announced yet, will be soon, but we've acquired a Web3 native CRM, so networking and doing BD. All
Nice.
these behaviors are tracked, and then that gates you being able to receive airdrops. Once you have the token, that gets you to stake the token, and then you can receive revenue sharing from our services and products that we monetize. I think ultimately now we're maturing as an industry, which I really enjoy. You need to make money. Fundamentals are important. Revenues are important. Product market fit. And you need a tokenomic model that is sustainable in which you buy your own token and you redistribute it, earn it, or buy USDT or Binance and redistribute it. And yeah, we've built all these mechanisms, and it's not just positive incentives, also negative incentives.
Okay. What are the
That,
what are the punishments in this?
so as a recruiter, for example, you have a reputation score as well. And when you recommend someone to a job in which our mobile app is run on bond points, which are off chain,
Are they going
which
to
is
convert to your token once you have the token sale?
there is a relationship between them.
That's cool. That's very cool.
But essentially, you have to use them, right? So you have to stake or you have to put down your reputation points, and your reputation is your currency to recommend someone.
Hmm.
First round of filtering is the AI. Let's say you recommend someone that, let's say you recommend an engineer for a marketing job, right? The AI will tell you that's 1 out of 5 stars. Therefore, your rating as a recruiter or a connector
Yeah.
goes down. So these are some of the things that I think, famously, Facebook never wanted to have a dislike button, right? It all
Right.
had to be authentic, all engagement. I actually believe that leads to too much noise, too much spam. There needs to be something at stake.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually
And
need to kind of call ourselves a bit, right? I mean, you can't just continue putting out content for content's sake, and it's just gonna make the world actually a lot more diluted and awful, right?
I mean, that's what's happening. I don't know about you, but like the amount of bots, AI, and overabundance of data is just making everything really noisy, and also everything sound and read the same.
Yeah, it's true. That's very true. Actually, I was thinking about how I can absolutely tell, at least with my own writing, I write a lot, but if I put out an article and even any of it was written by AI, I'm like, oh, it just like loses its luster so fast. But if you need to build a brand and you have to get content out on a regular basis, you are going to put bland content out simply to get those clicks. And it's a very poorly incentivized system. So it's going to be interesting to see how, like, not just typos, but maybe like idiosyncrasies in writing and in expression and in knowledge, all of the ways in which, like, say, someone on the spectrum would maybe not read right or not always be perceived simply, but they'll be perceived so uniquely that their value goes up, right? So in a weird way, it might just be kind of take our like individualistic Western ideology and put it on steroids to be like, I'm the most me. See, I'm not an AI.
Ultimately, I believe that the perfect mix is human plus machine,
Mm,
not one or the other, right? And ultimately, for example, it helps you write, it helps you be more productive. But if you're too lazy to go recheck what you've written and polish it and make it a little bit of your own voice before you share it,
yeah.
like you're just becoming lazy, and the brain's a muscle.
That's true. That's true. It is
Just
muscle.
lacking memory because we rely on our iPhones now. If we are doing all our critical thinking and outsourcing that to the AI, we're just going to get dumber.
I've often wondered, not that I think that I'm facing arrest often, but like if I got arrested and I have one phone call, have I memorized a phone number in the last decade? Like, who am I calling? What's going to happen? I'll call like the person whose like number I used because they had the points at the local grocery store, and I've just been using. You know what I mean? Like, who else would I remember to call? There's no numbers in my head anymore. It's awful. So yeah, I do worry.
But we've lived through that transition. I used to remember my best friend's home's phone number, my
Yeah,
own, my mother, my father, my whole family, and like maybe 10, 15 numbers. If I still had to rely on memory, I would have better memory, right? It's
that's
a
true.
muscle, it's a
Yeah,
muscle. So that's the only worry that I have is we've been rewarded academically and professionally on our ability to search and find the answers to things. Now that we're getting them fed so easily,
yeah.
what are the skills of the future?
Okay, well, I'm older than you, by like not a whole lot, but enough that I mean, we kind of probably generationally identify slightly differently. I mean, I'm very Gen X. I feel very Gen X. I imagine you are lean more millennial. I don't know. Maybe you're Gen X. Maybe just have
I'm
aged
a
really beautifully. I don't know, but like I've noticed among friends that are more millennial, they even in conversation, right? I'll have I think that tree is a blah 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 kind of tree. Oh, really? Let me look, and they want the fact. They go for the fact. And among Gen X and older, it's like we're totally fine pondering and being like, I think it looks like this. Now I think it looks like that. And we don't know who's right. We're just going to kind of talk about it and move on. Or like, I heard that Newark had a bunch of airplanes fall out of the sky. Did you hear that? I think they just crashed on the tarmac. Did they crash on the tarmac? I thought they were falling. Huh? And it's just conversational, anecdotal. The fact isn't really the point. But there's been this absolute difference in like the generation after mine that's like, because they were raised in a fact-based, search-based, post-Googled world, I guess. It's like the fact is the point. And I'm like, it's not the point. And they're like, fundamentally it is. And I'm like, no, fundamentally it's not. I'm like, why are you bothering? Why are you shoving your phone in my face with a fact? That wasn't the point. Yes, it was. And it's like, I felt this very big divide, that like, and I'm not sure that we need to just like sit here and pontificate and say things that aren't true. At the same time, what is this like weird preoccupation with having to get the correct thing? Why?
But also, you're just blindly trusting the answers from the internet, which are also not verified, especially when it comes to news. They're completely polarized and biased, right? And they
Right.
can be opinion based on who's writing it.
Yeah.
It's like I'm building a reputation score for people. I would love some sort of scoring on the news that I'm reading in terms
Yeah.
of the bias, the facts. But there is a mystery to life about not having the answer to everything that is beautiful that, we are going further and further away from.
That's true. And we all kind of in this age we're getting into a place where like the emotionality and the emotional content of something has so much more value. It will like it gets further reach if you have something like sex sells or like sadness and vulnerability. Have you noticed how commodified vulnerability has gotten? I'm like, could you just pull it together? You don't have to be vulnerable all the time. Like, is it just me being an asshole Gen Xer or what? Like, calm down. I don't need your vulnerability. Like, just handle yourself, but it's like it seems to be this emotionality, even if it's fabricated and it's just like artificial. It's like what people are dying to eat up now. Are you going to have an emotional component to the way that you score, or like is there a social like something about like one a candidate's like social abilities or soft skills? Are those, how are you quantifying those things?
There's more and more psychometric testing that is coming up
That's the
that
word.
can be implemented. And at the end of the day, when you do personality matching in teams, that is very useful.
Mm,
But as I said before, I believe in machine and human like being the best combination. When you're hiring someone, what I'm doing really is kind of background checking them ahead of time. They can verify what they claim on their resume. So that just is going to speed up the process of the company finding them and them accessing that opportunity. But the human factor is always going to be there. Is he
yeah.
going to fit the culture? He's going to fit the team? Are we going to get along? Like, no matter how much AI you throw at everything, the world of business and the world as a whole runs through human relationships, and you're not going to be able to replace that. That's why all the doomsayers are saying AI is going to replace everything. I disagree. I think it's going to be very complementary, but humanity and authenticity, like it's not going anywhere. And I think it's going to become more and more important. I'm exhausted of the attention-based economy.
Yeah.
I'm really exhausted. I'm overwhelmed by my Slack, Telegram, WhatsApp, LinkedIn. Like, what do I listen to? What do I pay attention to? Like, we're so fragmented, right? So I think we're going towards an authenticity and trust-based economy very soon. We just need to build the infrastructure, and that's what we're doing here at Bondex.
Is that partly why you have such a generous referral bounty program? I mean, up to $20,000 in rewards for successful referrals. It sounds like you realize that there's an enormous amount of value and you're willing to compensate for it just on the human relationship.
There is an incredible amount of value, but right now, the monetization, so your network, right, and your social graph is actually your net worth in many ways,
Yeah.
socially and professionally, right? But at the moment, who's monetizing that? Third,
Bondex.
I mean, we are actually sharing that bounty with the person that they successful refer. We charge a success fee. We need to eat, right? We need a
Yeah.
business model that's also sustainable. But at the end of the day, we need a bunch of middlemen and a bunch of data monopolies who are monetizing your network, who are monetizing your data, right? So having a bounty, even though 20K might sound like a lot of money, recruitment agencies are charging sometimes 20, 30% of someone's first year salary, and they're not adding that much value. They're charging that amount of money because they don't close all of their contracts, maybe 20, 30%. So they need to charge that money. And then at the end of the day, the recruiter who's done actually the matchmaking, which is something really key in the labor market as a whole, they're getting maybe the big agency something like 10% of that money. So that 20K, or we go as low as 5K on some bounties, sometimes they're making more money by doing that as a freelance or directly by referring someone that they would working at a big agency and doing the exact same job. So we enable them to be independent. And the amount of value is incredible. And because there's no infrastructure like this, I don't know about you, but you've been in the blockchain industry for a while. You have a really wide-ranging career. How many times do people ask you for recommendations of people when they need someone or when someone's looking for a job?
Yeah, it happens pretty often because there's just oh, I'm over here looking for this kind of job. You used to work with, I noticed that you work with so and so or so and so. And it's like out of my 4 or 5 or however many thousand of connections I have, yeah, I probably know somebody at that company technically, but not really.
So then you vouch for them or you make that connection and you don't monetize it whatsoever.
That's true.
And it can be maybe feel quite transactional, but believe me, there's other people out there monetizing those exact connections, relationships, etc. I'm just saying that we should all take a little fair piece out of the equation and making it cheaper for absolutely everyone and enable it to be more peer-to-peer through those mechanisms.
This peer-to-peer mechanism of I'm basically making it cheaper for everyone. It makes me think of Jeremy Rifkin's work on. He wrote a book called The Zero Marginal Cost Society. I keep tell I might as well like call the guy up and be like, I love your book so much. I'm telling everybody about it on my podcast because I talk about it all the time. But so many of these technological innovations that I hear from these founders, yourself absolutely included, is they are driving costs down. And there's a very interesting futuristic kind of ideology that like as we get closer and closer to a zero marginal cost society, what is that going to do to the other things about the fabric of society, like our commons and how we interact, how we monetize, if we need to monetize, what those interactions sort of actually look like. And peer-to-peer is like at the very core of that in many ways. So this is very cool. It's very cool what you're building. And I kind of want to like jump in and like find out how many people I can refer so I can get my rewards and see what this referral program is going to offer me.
I really appreciate it. But first thing, you should build your profile, verify some of your credentials using blockchain technology. It aggregates and bridges your socials, your resume, your does KYC, actually provide you this reputation score that enables trust, right? If we solve for trust, we are able to have peer-to-peer exchanges of money, time, skills, labor, everything.
That's fantastic. And soon we'll be able to even like buy your token. So what is the ticker of the token anyway? BOND?
Is BDXN, and
Okay.
be a big announcement tomorrow by the leading exchange, and will be listed next week, early next week.
Oh my
Stay tuned.
gosh, that's fantastic. I'm so excited for you. I'm glad I know. Okay, I'm glad I have this ticker because I'm definitely gonna go have to check you out. That's very cool. Okay, so you had this very wide-ranging process. And my last question is really, advice because you've come from investment banking, you've been on both sides of the pond, you've, been all over the place, and now you've found your space right in like Web3 and in really innovative new technologies. HR and Web3 is not exactly the easy next step after you go to investment banking. So like, given your broad background, do you have any specific like advice or like think even like mottos that you kind of leaned on as like that would help an aspiring entrepreneur or somebody trying to hopefully find something cool that they're passionate about that's going to change the world?
If I have to boil it down to three things, number one is everyone should try out entrepreneurship at one point or another. I think everyone has this fantasy of starting their own company, but not everyone has the temperament for it. You have to have an incredible high risk tolerance and also a great capacity for pain to keep going and resilient. So that's
Yeah.
number one. Knowing yourself, testing it out. If you see it's not for yourself, entrepreneurship is not for you. Once you become an entrepreneur, you're done. Like, you know, uh,
You're now unemployable for the rest of your life.
I would say is don't just because you like something or don't chase the flavor of the month. Don't try to have a solution looking for a problem. Find the problem, be obsessed about the consumer and finding product market fit about how to fix that problem. And something that someone will be willing to pay for, and then you have a business. And once you do that, it's a matter of scale.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, just because they like something, and in crypto especially, there's a lot of infrastructure, engineering focused people that are building things that are overly complicated that will never achieve mass adoption. And ultimately, and I heard this from I had this deep conversation with the founder of WhatsApp, and I was like, hey, since the ethos of cryptocracy with WhatsApp, like you must love crypto. He's like, I don't believe in it. It's like it doesn't solve a real problem for me. I have my Apple Pay, I have my bank account. Why do I need crypto? And that really shocked me. And the problem solution set needs to be simple, understandable. And that's the number two thing to focus on. And number three, I would say, is team. You need to find missionaries because things are going to get really, really hard. You need to get people that drink the Kool-Aid with you and your vision. And your job is really transmitting your vision to other people, get them to buy in, and be missionaries versus mercenaries, especially in the beginning of the company. Because again, it's going to be long and hard, and you need them for the long term. So those would be my three main tips.
So take all of the good sides of like Jim Jones and like guru making and just turn it all for like positive use instead of negative use. Like actually better Kool-Aid than that Kool-Aid. Got it. That's fantastic. I love
Yeah,
your
just to clarify, not talking about the cold Kool-Aid. What I mean is, getting someone to buy into your vision, get excited, and ultimately, especially the key members of any team, that they really do believe in the mission, and ultimately, they end up, becoming the company becomes part of them, and it's also theirs, right? And that process is really important.
Yeah, that's incredibly important. And I mean, it's kind of the same. You're going to have a TGE soon, right? Your token generating event is going to be incredible. But also, if you want a solid token, you need to have that bedrock of hodlers, people that really believe in it. So it's a similar kind of, it just goes perfectly in line with the ethos of your company. So I'm excited for how you guys are going to be growing and getting so much more traffic as well. I mean, my Lord, you're going by leaps and bounds. So this is very cool. I hope we have a part two to this when you're with your next big news or something. I don't know. Let me know. Be sure to reach out if you have other big news coming up in the next year. We would love to hear how you guys grow in the next 12 months.
Thank you so much, Monica. We're excited about the future. And what I would say is check us out. Check out our mobile app and download it, play around with it. Our TGE, our token launch is next week. But actually, an interesting topic I'd love to revisit with you after we do the token launch is
Yeah.
giving people a playbook on how to do a token launch and grow.
Oh my gosh. We should just have a one-on-one on that. Absolutely. Tokenomics and token launches, very important. Very important. There's so many ways to screw it up.
Because my God, there's a reason Series A companies don't IPO. Incredible set of challenges as an early stage company to also essentially IPO and become a public company. And boy, I've learned some very valuable lessons I'd love to share and spread.
Yeah, that would be great. Let's schedule a second interview with this one. That would be a great topic. I'd love to explore it with you. In the
Fantastic.
meantime, have a great time with your token launch. I mean, it's almost like ringing the bell at the New York Stock Exchange, except you're probably like at home in your pajamas just watching a computer screen. But similar, it's similar, very similar. I hope it goes really well for you.
Thank you so much.
Ignacio, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us, and I can't wait to catch up with you again in the future. And best of luck with Bondex. This is just fantastic.
Well, thank you, Monica, and thank you to all the listeners. I've had a fantastic time. Thank you for having me.
Great. Well, this is the wrapping up of the last episode of the Profit Show. I'm Monica Profit signing off, and I can't wait to catch you on our next episode. Thanks so much, guys.